What's up, guys? Welcome to Diving Garage and welcome to part 2 of the Supercharger install. As you can see, we got to place it on the engine. If you missed that, hit this link to go check out part 1. And in part 2, we're going to start tackling the list. Still got plenty of work to do, so let's dive in. Alright, so this is the list. Let's go check it out. We have plenty to do. So for today, I think we're going to tackle the balancer, the pulleys, the blower pulley. There's some of these things on here I don't have parts in for yet. I'm still waiting on some parts. And then we're going to get as far as we can today. The goal is to get everything but the EFI done in this video. And then we'll get the EFI installed in the next video. And then we'll be firing it up. So let's dive in. Alright, so real quick, why am I changing the balancer anyway? This is a cast iron balancer for a stock or NA application, and this is a forged steel SFI approved balancer, and you really want the forged steel version because the amount of tension and force you're putting on the snout of the crank and the balancer are much higher than you were a cast iron or a stock one, a non-boosted application. The cast iron one might hold up for a little bit, but eventually it's gonna explode, especially because you look here and there's big gaps in the casting. As for over here, it's solid, giving you a lot more strength. So what I'm also gonna do, and I'm not gonna do it quite at this minute, but what I'm going to do is pin the crank. So this keyway here, this is really just to align the crank, and it's not really to keep it there. If you just run this one keyway, that might hold up for a little while, but it's really not going to hold once you start really ripping on this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin the crank. What I'll do is I'll get a straight edge and I'll draw a straight line across here to make sure they're 180 degrees apart. And I'll get I got a pin kit coming in to where it comes with a little fitting. You put a bolt and you bolt it into the crank, and then that you drill into where it goes halfway into the snout and halfway into the balancer, and then you punch a pin through there, and you want to do that 180 degrees apart. So like I said, I'll put it on this way, I'll draw a line, do it 180 degrees apart, I'll drill and put a pin in those so we get a lot more strength out of this balancer, even more than what it already is. All right, there we go. Balancer's on, looking a lot better. This is what I was talking about. I can only get so close, otherwise that timing pointer will start hitting it. And even now, I'm gonna probably rotate the engine a few times, make sure that everything's good, there's no interference, and make sure we're all set. The engine did move a bit. You'll see the pointer's off, but that's okay. While I was taking it off, it happens. The cool thing about a blower is that once you got all the pulleys on, then you can just rotate the inside the snout. There's a 1/2 inch square you can put a socket in, or I guess an extension, and rotate the whole engine, so that'll be nice and easy to line up again. All right, so next thing up is going to be our accessory drive, and with the spacer, when I was mocking this up, it fit really nice when I had the spacer on the back of here like that. So I'll just line up the holes and get one started, put the rest in. I'm really not going to be focused on torquing these down to spec, because these need to come off when I pin the crank. So I'm just going to kind of get these snug for now, so I can get all this set up and going, and then we will come back and we'll pin the crank. Now for the fun stuff, the actual pulley. Here we go. I'm only going to put 2 bolts in for now, and we'll come back later. Don't worry, I'll come back later. I won't forget this one, that's for sure. If you look down like this, it looks like we have a decent lineup between our top and lower pulley. we'll see. Now we need to get the water pump pulley back on. I hope I didn't warp that thing. And then we'll see how everything else lines up. All right, now let's see how we're doing. If I can see, well, it appears to be pretty decent, but we'll see once I start getting belts on. Okay, so first check of the lineup. Let's see how we're doing. Oh, we got it from the side here. We are a little forward on that lower pulley, if you can see, but I can adjust that because we're a little forward on the top pulley too. So what you got to do is you get this your snout idle mount and you just scoot it back. So I got a little bit more room to do that, and then that should line up pretty good. And I don't know if you can tell here, but the water pump pulley is a little too rearward, but I have a spacer I can put on and bring that forward just a bit. Alright, I'm just doing some pulley alignment, kind of saving you guys the boring stuff. And I'm getting, this is the power steering, if you see it right here, power steering pump, power steering pulley. And I was getting it all aligned, but I don't know if you can see down there, my pulley installer tool snapped. So, it's really close, but it's not quite there yet. So, I think I'm gonna do the unthinkable and grab a socket and a hammer. Alright, went a little too far with the hammer, had to get the puller out, and because it got jammed, it wouldn't spin. So now it spins, and this belt may not run super straight. I mean, it's close, I don't know, you probably can't tell on camera. It's gonna line up with that first pulley right there, or that first V in that water pump pulley, and I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes. Alright, so one more thing we're gonna do to add some strength to our balancer and our hub assembly here is we're going to pin the crank. Now what does that mean? So we got this jig here which bolts into the crank, and I'm going to show you all this. It bolts into the crank with this bolt here, and then you get the proper size drill bit and you drill down, and then once you make a hole, you can put a pin in there. And what you're doing with this drill is that you're drilling halfway into the crank and halfway into the balancer, and this pin keeps them together. So this kit is from Alki Digger, pretty nice kit here, and it comes with this pin, and I ordered 2 more pins just in case, and I think I'm going to be using those because they are a bit longer. It just seems like the better route. Anyway, it comes with some instructions too, just in case you need it, but it really has everything you might need. So I'm going to go ahead and get that set up, and let's get that done. And once we're done with that, we can finally set all the pulleys in place and all the belts and everything, and we can move on. Because I've spent a lot of time getting all these pulleys shimmed and aligned and new bracketry, and just, oh man, I've spent at least, I don't know what, 4 hours just getting all this stuff set up. Anyway, let's go get this done. Alright, so I got my drill ready. I got it marked and taped off at 2 inches exactly, because the space from the harmonic balancer to the snout of the crank was 1 1/4, and the pin is 3/4 inch long, so 2 inches, nice and easy. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put some cutting lubricant on there and get to work. So that should be it. Pretty nice and easy, right? So now I'm just gonna pull this off and check our work. If we have to go touch it up, we'll touch it up. All right, look at all those bits. Man, I'll get the vacuum out right quick. All right, looking in there, we're still a little shallow. So I'm gonna bolt that thing back up and go another about 3/4 inch. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna get nervous. Should work though, should work. We're only drilling our crankshaft, you know, it's no big deal. It's looking really good, check it out. So hopefully you can see that there's a nice channel through the hub, or through the balancer, all the way into the crank. And now I'm gonna throw a pin in there. Alright, so we have successfully pinned the crank. Now I can get all the pulleys together for the final time. Alright, now before I forget, I gotta put a gasket on this snout, and I got another gasket for this triangle, but that's gonna be, oh, dropped it. That's gonna be the last thing, because we gotta fill this thing up with oil. So I got one of those on standby. When time comes, we'll put that on. Alright, pulley drive system complete, finally. That took so long. Alright, let's start from the bottom. We got the new balancer down there. We got the 2V accessory drive, lower pulley good, new power steering bracket, and good enough aligned pulley. And then the water pump, dual V water pump pulley. And we got the new alternator bracket, and then that belt. And then of course, we got the star of the show, the blower belt. And everything's all gasketed up. Like I said, this one will come later. But man, now I can start turning my attention towards a lot of other stuff. So we still have quite a bit of things left on the list, so I'm gonna start knocking them out. All right, so this here is Bruce's current radiator, and it was doing an outstanding job keeping the engine cool. So I took it out, give it a wash down, go ahead and cleaned out whatever antifreeze was in there, and then put some new sealant on the transmission cooler lines or fittings. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mod this to take electric fans. So I got this fan shroud here from the Summit, and it fits up pretty nice. And what I'm gonna do is secure this to the body of the radiator, and then I'm gonna mount the fans onto the shroud here. And this is pretty straightforward, just drilling holes. I'm gonna use self-tapping screws to keep it straight. And when you're doing this, of course, you don't wanna drill into the fins. There's like this flat piece of aluminum that goes around the perimeter. That's what you wanna drill or tap or whatever you're gonna do into. So that's what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna get to it. Cool. All right, now that we got that done, let's go grab the fans, some more screws, and then we'll get these in there. All right, what are we gonna be using? We got two Miradyne fans making, I think 1860 each. So this should put us around, what? 3,700 CFM? Can I do math? Yeah, I think so. Or around 3,700. And so that should get us going. I really think this will be enough to cool down this Supercharger unit, but we'll find out. And for now, I'm just gonna leave these kind of both running that way. The battery sits over here on this side in the truck, and I'm gonna have a dual relay unit powering both of these with getting power straight off the battery. And the fans comes with these cool little feet, so, and different options. So each one of these things is a place you can put one of these little feet for to mount the fan. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna use these points right here, like that, and get this thing nice and secured. You get this little goodie bag with each of the fans you buy. All I'm gonna be using are the feet out of here. And I did rob some of those little spacers I just used to install this shroud. But otherwise, this is really a zip tie kit and just not what I'm gonna be doing here. All right, and that's pretty much it. Modifying your radiator to fit up a fan. 2 electric fans and a fan shroud is really simple. I might look over some of these perimeter screws. I don't like the way that they're sitting. I'll probably put a washer down so that load is spread out. Otherwise, then this thing is going back in the truck. All right, so I had originally thought that this video would just be doing install of the, let's call it hardware. But to keep going, to accomplish the things I need to do, I'm gonna have to start on the EFI harness. So what I did was I drilled a 2-inch hole into the firewall, and I'm about to install this big grommet here so I can pass through all the connectors and the rest of the harness, and then I'm gonna keep on going. So we're gonna get a little farther than we thought in this video, and that's not a bad thing. All right, so now that we got the right gear, not someone reboxed and returned, we can get this thing going. So remember, when you're putting these on there, it is not like this way. Just think of it this way. This is like a funnel that catches the oil pump drive shaft, okay? So we're gonna put it on just like this, right there. In case you're curious, these Hyperspark distributors have a 500 width shaft, not a 491, like kind of a typical GM or other brand one does, maybe like a store brand. And that's all it takes, nice and easy. So these Hypersparks come with a cast iron, and this is what I had on there additionally, and I almost lubed it up and sent it, but then I took a second and thought, and I'm glad I did, because this cast iron is not compatible with our billet steer hydraulic roller camshaft, so you got to check that stuff. All right, 2 more quick things about the Hyperspark distributor. Before you're going to set this on there, might as well go ahead and take off the cap. We're not going to need that right away, and we're also going to need that clear alignment tool, and I'll show you that in just a sec. All right, this is an alignment tool. What we're going to do is we're going to drop this in, make sure the pointer is set at the #1 cylinder like it's supposed to be, and then we're going to set this on top, so that way, like say it's here, we line it up like this, and then we can get a good, oh, that accidentally worked. We line it up like this. Come on, I'm trying to show the people. Line it up like this. Come on. And then we rotate this until it sort of fits like that. So I'll show you again in the engine. Let's throw some lube on it and put it in. There we go, don't be shy. All right, and of course this is a tight shot. Sorry if you can't see a ton. But as with any distributor install, you want to make sure your engine is at top dead center on the #1 cylinder, which ours is. And then we got our base gasket in place. I'm going to go ahead and get her in there. Gently. There we go, and there is just enough room. Perfect. Perfect. There we go. So you see how that went all the way down? That's because that's where we used to have it. And so, oh, hold on, I'm getting a phone call. XO is calling. All right, so right there we got it pointed in the close enough direction. And right, you'll see, I don't know if you can see there at the bottom, down here, no, you can't see that. Down here, there's still a gap. And what you do is now that you have the cam and the distributor meshed, now you can rotate the engine and then put some light pressure, and then your oil pump drive and your distributor will mesh. So with the blower motor, that's really easy. All you gotta do is use the belt, the front main belt, and turn the engine that way. All right, off camera I took care of a bunch of boring stuff, so let me get you caught up. All right, I'll start from this side. We got the catch can installed with 10AN lines to the valve covers. Obviously valve covers on, FFP Customs bolt-on oil fill, bolt-on PCV. That came out really good. Back there you can't really tell, but the coolant crossover stuff I actually had to redo and make it a little bit different. It didn't quite fit the way I wanted to, but I got that figured out. I got new hoses, new heater hoses there and there. I got the new fuel line made up and all that put in. I got the manifold pressure and vacuum rail hooked up. And I got the scoop just chilling on there for now. That's not quite done yet. I got a couple more things to do to it. And on this side, I changed up the belt setup because I realized I only really had one drive belt, and if one belt failed, I had nothing. So I changed it up so that way, if you look from over here, so there's two belts coming off the water pump now. So that way, if I have one failure, I don't lose everything. So for example, I could lose power steering, but still have an alternator. But unfortunately, if I lose alternator, I got nothing. So that's still the same. Belt drive's good to go. I still haven't filled up the blower case with oil yet. That's on the list of things to do. Not many things left. Alternator's hooked up. Other PCV hoses hooked up. I got the power cable ran for the Sniper, but it's not hooked up yet. I got the carb linkage and the carb throttle cable, and that's actually the stock throttle cable. So that's pretty funny. I've been using that thing for a long time. Well, the whole time I've had the truck. I think that is about most of it up here. I had already had the fuel regulator on there. But the big thing is I got the Sniper hooked up. And the reason I didn't show that, all the wiring that is, the reason I didn't show that is because I'm going to do a whole video on just hooking up the Sniper. So that's going to be coming out in the next couple weeks here. Anyway, let's go to the inside of the truck, and we got a couple more things. Okay, as you can see, I got the actual ignition box in the truck. And why is that? Because on the harness, there was a big long length for the ignition box. And I also ran out of room on the firewall, so I figured, well, I guess it's going to go inside. I got a bunch of wiring cleaned up, and I'm going to leave it a little crazy at first because this stuff is just chilling here on the ground. I'm going to leave it that way to make sure everything runs right. And once I know it does, I'll get it nice and tidied up. And then over here, I have the display, and I'm waiting on a suction cup mount so I can get that all nice. Otherwise, that is about it. I did get the can splitter, so now when you open the glove box, you got the USB for your laptop. That's pretty cool. Here on the co-pilot station, that that's about it. And also this fuel pump wire, it comes with a lot, but I already had ran this length to a relay towards the back of the truck. So I just went to the very end and connected it there. And if it works fine, I'll trim it down. But like I said, I'm gonna leave this a little crazy for now and make sure everything works first. That's typically what you wanna do when you're hooking up one of these snipers or Terminators, whatever it is you're doing. Don't spend the time to get everything perfect, only to come to find out, well, the truck runs bad or the car runs bad. Or you go to the tuner and tuner says, this wire is in the wrong place, all right? So I'm gonna leave it like that. Now there are only two major things left. That's the fuel pump and the O2 sensor up there. The first thing let's tackle is the fuel pump. All right, so let's get at this fuel pump. So this is the in-tank pump setup I had run or built a few episodes ago when I was showing you the K5 Blazer tank swap. If you want to see that, I'll post a video or a link here or wherever it is. Anyway, so this setup ran great, first of all. So I'm really happy with the performance of this. But this pump only puts out like, I don't know, 7 or 8 PSI. Not enough. We need 60 to run the Sniper. So what we got is an Automotive stealth pump. So if you can, I don't know if you can really see, but this pump really is not that much bigger, but it puts out way more fuel pressure. So we're gonna be upgrading to that. So the first step is to get this all stripped down, and I gotta figure out the wiring situation because the wires that are on here, they look like 1 gauge smaller than what the Automotive needs. So I will have to figure that mess out. But first, let's get it all stripped down. All right, so what I've done so far is I took the red wire and I depinned it out of this connector. I cut off the old one we're not gonna need. And then I need to cut this because we need to replace this ground wire. And I need to actually depin it out of here too. Well, let's see if I can't just yank it. Nope, that's all right. I'll depin it in a second. But we need to recreate this with the new connector. We need to send a ground to the frame and a ground to the actual pump. So I don't have any pins on me or terminal connections. So I'll need to go grab some and then we can wrap this up. In the meantime though, what we can do is get the new pump ready and install it. So it comes with some little covers, make sure you take those off. And the installation is the same as any other intake pump. We're gonna get some hose, some clamps, clamp her down, and then be good to go. One note on these Automotive stealth pumps is that there's a little hole down there. You need to make sure it's clear. Mine's good to go, but you need to make sure that's clear. All right, well, that's about as far as we can get today. All right, y'all, this is the state of the fuel pump. It is ready for the pins so I can get this thing connected and all set up. You've seen me do this before. It's not really a big issue pinning something and connecting it and installing it. So I'm gonna knock this out off camera, and so that way we can cut this video and move on to the next one. Let's take a look at the list. What do we got left? One big thing. We got the O2 sensor. I'm gonna tackle that at the beginning of the next video. I have an idea, I think it'll work, and I think it'll be just fine. We're gonna run through our pre-fire checklist. I got a couple other things to knock out, and then we're ready to fire this pig up. I'm pretty pumped. Oh man, I've never done a roots blower before, so this is gonna be interesting. I've gone over everything's twice, if not 3 times, each system 2 or 3 times. So I think it's gonna be fine, but we'll find out. So guys, if you like the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get out there, and dive into the next project. Catch you next time.